Folks, how are you doing? Today on the bench, we have this beautiful Amiga hard drive. This is the Impact Series 2 by JVP, and this is I think the first iteration of that series. The one after that was the 8 plus, or whichever way. I'm not sure about the nomenclature, but this was a popular hard drive. Amiga or Commodore released their own hard drive for the Amiga 500 and 500 plus. What it was very handy, the layout, the look of it was very bulky. It didn't quite embrace the look and feel, or it didn't sit right beside one of the bulky 500 wedge computers. So JVP came up with this design, which actually fully embraces the layout of the 500 and 500 plus, and it's exactly the same length. I got this as part of a bigger lot, and there was a 500 plus, which you'd have seen now. There was 2 floppy drive and a mouse and a power supply. I'll come back to that afterwards because we are going to need a power supply to power this thing. So the way this works, you slide this into the side port of your Amiga, and instead of drawing power from the edge connector here, but you power it through this DIN connector here. And it's a 5-pin DIN connector, and I don't have a power supply for it. This was already pre-opened, so I'm guessing the screws here were removed at some point, and I think I know why. Because this is not the stock hard drive that should come with these. I'm pretty sure. It looks like somebody had already done some work and replaced the stock hard drive, because it should look different. I think there's a whole frame that comes here, and the hard drive sits on top of that, so it should be higher, because this is quite flat, and it's all silvery as far as I don't think that's the stock hard drive, which might be good news, because that means it was replaced at some point, and it might still work and still have files for us to explore in it. Let's not jump to conclusions. I've probably jinxed myself even just saying that, so let's proceed with caution.
What now? This video is sponsored by PC. No. We don't do that here. They make the PCB. Okay. They offer PCB manufacturing and part assembly, of course, but they also offer a number of other services like CNC machining, metal sheet fabrication, 3D printing, and even injection molding. Pretty much anything you need for all your projects. Go to PCBWay.com, upload your project files, and get an instant quote. And thank you to them for sponsoring this video. Thank you, PCBWay.
So we're going to try to see if we can power this guy, get it back to work, and at least maybe, I don't know if it'll boot, it should auto boot, or have it set as a sort of secondary hard drive, or just a full drive that we can access from Workbench if we boot it through floppy disk. We'll see. What I really want to do is explore what files could be on this if we can salvage them. First, we need to sort out the power supply. So this takes +5. I think +5 is top here, and 12 volt, which is here or here. While I don't have the power supply for this, what I have is something that came with it, and one I have plenty of anyway, is this power supply, which I can see has been hacked. Possibly, it's a long wire as well. Possibly to extract +5 and 12, although I'm not sure. I'm assuming the ground will come from the connector, but I'm not sure. And I don't. Well, we're gonna open this. Have a look. This power supply may work or might not work. We'll find that out. But what we can do, and also it's missing the plug. Wonderful. What we can do is get the +12 and 5 from this guy, and even though this is a different connector, what we can use is a MIDI cable, which is the exact same connector as this guy, and I have this very short MIDI cable. I've never been able to use it for much, and I think I think it's time to to give it a purpose in life. All right, so it took a minute to find information, not that long, but I found 2 sources and they seem to recoup each other. So seen from the pin, so the actual pin, when you look at it that way, it should be ground, 12 volt and 5 volt, and I just mapped the colors of the MIDI connector. So red is 12 volt, black is 5 volt. The ground is there's a bare wire that actually wraps around all the other wires. So I just turned it into a one just bare wire by twisting it, and I'll put some heat shrink around it. Green is not connected and blue is not connected. And find the same information here, but seen from the rear of the unit. One way I can double check is by just plugging this in. Which way does it go? There you go. And then everything here is marked a +5. There's the -12, and the 2 blue wires are the ground. So I'm just gonna do a couple of more continuity checks just to make sure that these are the correct colors, and then we'll get soldering. That's it. Little MacGyver connector for our HD 500 HD hard drive. So come on, there you go. Now I know this doesn't blow, so, and I tested the voltages at this point, which is the 12. This is the ground, and this is the +5. We just need to plug this guy in. Oh, light, sound. Things are spinning. The fan is on. Not a powerful fan, but it's on and it's working. Okay. I don't see any hard disk data here coming up, but that doesn't mean that it's not working. It's just there's nothing plugged in, so I don't expect the processor to be seeking anything. All right, I've got the hard drive running. You can hear it in my voice. I'm so excited. I got this. It's running. It took a couple of minutes. The connector on this side was somewhat dirty, so I needed to clean that. So I did a few tries, nothing happened, and then I needed to essentially drown the connectors on this side in contact cleaner. You can see what I mean, though. The how the aesthetic blends into the sort of Commodore side of things, but oh my god, oh my god, I'm so excited to dig into this. There might not be much. I don't know. I'm gonna set up this camera so I don't need to hold it, and we can explore it together. This is I'm actually giddy with excitement at just peeking into someone else's past life. Also, you can see we got the 8 megs here of memory. Essentially, the memory, the RAM, there's an additional RAM expansion in there. I might not just lift the cover. Yeah, there you go. It's right here, and it's set by jumpers. The jumpers were wrong. They were set for 4 megs, and that works for 4 megs, but I set them up now. I'm going to talk just before I start. I wanted to test the RAM with the Amiga test kit, and what I was getting is a load of errors. A lot of the RAMs failed, and I found that there's one good one, but all these 3 here are either dead or partially dead. I'm getting just errors on the data bus. So, and the way I tested this is the you can set it to 2, 4, or 8 megs. So this is 2. And this would be the second one, would make that 4, and you can set that with jumpers, and then 8. And by replacing each one here, I could find that like these 3 tested bad with the Amiga test kit, and only 1 tested okay. All right, so this is the workbench. So it starts here. The RAM disk is essentially if you want to load stuff in RAM to start them faster during your workbench session, but this is what we're given here initially. So I already looked at this one, just clicked here and there, but I haven't really dug deeper into what's going on with this system. As I'm editing the footage, I also want to acknowledge I'm not sure what to call it. What is this workbench theme? The utter shiteness that it is. It's horrendous, and I kind of love it because it is that bad. Oh my god! So we've got the usual system utility. Workbench startup is where we load stuff that we want started. We put stuff that we want started with the workbench. Multi-view, it's a file viewer. I did try to start that, but it crashed my the Amiga. So I think we have issues with the hard drive itself. It's probably on its way out. I'm already drawn to this. Well, a couple of things. I'm drawn to these names. So there's a sort of a shared use of this machine. Kelly, Dickie, Marty is here twice. Sean, Craig's. Classes, I think that's the standard definition. Oh no, music. Octamed is here. So there's lessons, classes. Okay. Normally, I would expect classes to be like class definitions for some of the libraries, whatever terminology it is. But no. Okay. Hard drive utility VBS. VBS is interesting. That's it. VBS is it's a video backup archiving software. What you could do is actually archive your hard drive or floppy onto videotapes. So it required plugging, obviously, a videotape recorder through serial, and then I think the backup itself was done via the composite port that sent the data in form of images. So I don't have any backups here. I don't have a videotape recorder with any tapes, but is there any log files? Where are we? Log files. Yeah, that's it. Oh yeah. So it should be a log of all the either hard drive or floppies that were archived, saved. Marty mix 98. Is that a date? So up to 98, this machine was used. Yeah, there you go. Okay. There you go. Yeah, this is what we should see. So ADF format. So these are floppy formats, and this is the timestamp in the videotape. So you could archive, I think, up to like almost 200 floppies in this. So a lot of game. NDOS, I'm not sure what that refers to, but yeah, there's a lot of games, which is expected. Samples and MIDI. Quit VBS. Okay. So there was archiving shenanigans going on, copying of floppies on this machine. But Marty, okay, this is NCOM. The NCOM was a terminal server. Essentially, you would use that with something on your serial port to connect to a BBS bulletin board. So the ancestor of NCOM is here as well. Sort of the ancestor of the email service. So this machine was used possibly to connect to, well, some form of serial connection anyway. Maybe a bulletin board, which would have been the... okay, Kelly doesn't have much in her drawers. And X copies here. Okay. Was there copying going on this machine? More than likely. Oh, there's quite a bit here. Music, copy of X copy. Copy of NCOM again. Yeah, that's the logo for Encom. Why is that software replicated? Why is it in here and not here? What's in music? Octamed again. Was this a shared use and everybody had whatever software they were using put locally? Although, why is the voice synthesizer on the Amiga? So why is that here? With the word, what is the word? is that the word? HD install. Script is an issue 11 of the word to your hard drive. Do we wish to continue? No, not yet. Maybe we'll do that later, but okay. And this, I'd rather not know what's in there. It's not an executable file anyway. Okay, utility hard drive. So I've looked at this already. Well, I've opened it and I can see we have a folder called okay, copy of Encom again. Well, they were default setting files. So these are working folders. We got cartoons. Is there anything in there? Are we viewing show all files? Yeah, we're. So that's empty. Music. I had a look at it briefly because I'm kind of interested in that. The Ultimate Sampling Machine, which was a tool I used when I was a kid to actually edit samples, get samples. But what was cool with it is you could scan the RAM. So if you had a game or a demo that you liked and you wanted to rip the samples from it, you could actually just load it, reset, and do a RAM scan. And more than likely, you would get the samples. Then you had to kind of manually cut them and isolate them and that kind of stuff. But I got a lot of samples through that. Sequencer, we got meaty stuff. Mods. Okay, we got 2 mods, I'm assuming, therefore. Octamed. This is copied. This is weird. There's a lot of copies of stuff. Oral Illusion, I'm not familiar with this. Was this used for education to some extent? I mean, everybody had access to Octamed, and I don't remember the ability to kind of share specific folders like that on the Amiga, but the fact that this was used up to a 98 tells me, I don't know. This is quite late. I used my Amiga up to 98, but it was an exception, if you will. Sound machine, yeah, there's a lot of sound software, and Octamed being the center here. Oh, this is an old version of Octamed, isn't it? Mods. Oral brain food. Okay. Entity, what's that? By Virgil. Oh, well, this is. So we've got music, cartoons, nothing in there. Art programs, there's quite a lot there. Like we got Video Studio, Vista Lite, like Vista Pro, which was a sort of a landscape viewer. Movie setter, P-Paint is here somewhere. Photogenics, yeah, there's quite a lot going on here. So I wonder if this was used like for. We got scenes here, which, if I remember, would be sort of 3D 3D scenes that you use with the 3D software. So maybe stuff like Imagine or Sculpt 3D or something like that. Hard drive work, because we already had a work. Well, that's a root hard drive. And it has the C, libs, S, the startup stuff, L. It has all the folders that this guy should have. Actually, thinking of which, I didn't see those folders in here. Storage, startup. Yeah, this is this a copy? Scala. A Scala is, for those who don't know, Scala is a multimedia sort of editor. So you could do sort of presentations, animations. There you go. Yeah. You could add music. Yeah, it could read MIDI files as well and animated files. Yeah, all these animations done with something like whatever, P-Paint or D-Paint. So was this used for video editing at some point? Utilities should have. Oh, that's different again. Multi-view JIP, fix this, decopy, xcopy, packer, super backup. These are all sort of software for packing data and archiving stuff, like used by probably people who would swap floppy disks just for the hell of it. Scala, the video editing is weird though. Well, maybe that thing had multiple purposes at once, or had a second life, or before now. Yeah, I should be seeing. So this is the root folder. So I should be seeing here, and there's nothing there. I should be seeing. Hold on. Okay, libs. Okay, it's all there. Utility, mount list. Okay, so this is our root hard drive, but at some point somebody else, I'm guessing this would have been the first hard drive, and somebody else either did a backup of this is the old hard drive, did a backup of that so that it could work on whatever art programs, music, what's in game file, anims or more animations. Yeah, so that would track. At some point, maybe that hard drive was repurposed to work on visual stuff, visual editing and audio editing, download. So 3D, we got text, LHA. So these are archives, zip files though. Huh. Of course. There's some of that here. Editing Ollie here. Before I continue, I just want to say that the goal of this video is not so much to recover the data, is to actually see what this hard drive was used for. I just want to know, well, who had it, what they used it for, and all that kind of stuff. The data, I will do my best to recover the stuff. I know there's like options from copying to floppy and moving to another Amiga, or I could serial out of, there's a few programs that can do that and transfer them via serial to a PC. Ethernet would work as well. There's multiple options. I'm aware of some of them. Anyway, the goal here is not so much to recover the porn zip folder, and it's more to actually see who owned this machine and what they did with it. I'm gonna have to have a look at every folder here and see if there's any hidden files like we did here by just showing everything. Like if we go to utility, all files, that's sort of cryptic. The word show on. Oh, what? Sorry, I'm discovering this with you. So this was in the word. Okay, let's start with Marty. Have you got any hidden file? All files? No, you're good. Dicky. You know, there's an easier way to do this. I could just start directory opus and on. Why is there two Marty's drawers here? All files. Oh. So I think these files are essentially logs from whatever BBS software this was connected to. So I would guess we either see some interesting stuff, probably conversations, and by what I saw from the VBS software, there's a lot of archiving going on. So I suspect this was probably a disk exchange machine at some point in its life. Let's have a look. All right, let's load directory opus. So I have made a list. I've spent a little bit of time just going through that entire drive, pretty much every folder I could find. There's some stuff hidden in there. If we open Marty drawer here, there you go. We can see all this stuff that we can see. If I open this, for example, it takes a minute, but there you go. Front door shareware. This is probably not an Amiga stuff. It's probably running on some other machine. But we get the sampler BBS. I'm not sure why there's Z. There's probably a reason for that. Formatting reason. Okay, let's just psyops John Sherman. Well, I don't think I'm incriminating anybody here. And the fact Gary Power was the user. Again, it could be any Gary Power. But if we come across actual personal data like phone numbers and stuff like that, I will do my best to blur them. But I doubt. John Hunt of Dublin says, "Sorry to go Carlos. Thanks for all your help in the past, and I hope to see you in the Ghost real soon." So yeah, there was a lot of messages. Carlos Kane of Ghost said, "Ghost in the machine finally be laid to rest by Telecom Aaron. There'll be no more Ghost in the foreseeable future." So Ghost was probably another BBS, maybe. So do we have a date? There you go. We have a date. First conversation here. 96. 10th of November 96. Garrett, to me, just wondering if that version of Beneath the Still Sky you got up. There you go. This is a BBS for exchanging floppies. There was probably some file downloads going on. More than likely. Sorry, didn't get a chance yet. It's a lot of conversations about discs. Statistics. Number of uploads, uploaded, downloads. Okay, yeah, this was a floppy exchange BBS, which would explain all the packing softwares and all the crunching and decrunching tools and all that kind of stuff, including the VBS software in there to back up all of those onto videotape. This is fascinating. I love this stuff. I think this is what we're gonna get here. A lot of these Alan Scroll. There you go. This is the name. Yeah, this is a better formatting. Sampler BBS. It probably displays better on the camera than it does in real life. You really have to squint to make out the SM peeler, but I think it comes out better on the camera, especially in movement. Yeah. Sampler BBS, over 4 gig online at all time, 7 CDs. Wow. Online 24 hours a day. And these were. I don't know if they were good old days, but these were the old days for sure. I can't make it to the club this month. So there was a club back then in 98 in Dublin. Presumably where file search to date. So this is what would have been available on the bulletin board. Windows programs. So this was probably also used to download Windows programs and probably those zip files that we saw earlier and those archives. Because I don't think zip would have been a popular or at all available for the Amiga at the time. I could be wrong. So these were probably Windows archives, and the LHA would probably... Would it decrypt on this? Maybe, maybe not. Music mods, MIDI files, remote access, door areas, graphic animations, Windows 95, Doom games, internet program, Epic section, yeah, erratic game compression. Cool. It's just so cool to see. Yeah, so that's the type of file we saw earlier, and I assume these were, there you go, for Windows 95. There was a number before them, or there was yeah, and those zip files as well. Next is in the hard drive work utilities. So this is where we saw all those work. This version of work is the old, and what I'm assuming was the original hard drive. The utilities is where we saw all these kind of sort of floppy share type stuff, and we have these text files here, and yeah, these are lists of games. So I'm guessing before the bulletin stuff there was because this is typed as if you would print that into Alan's list of Amiga games. So maybe this was sent with a floppy via mail or printed on paper. So we have a list, another list here of games, yeah, of the disk, and I'm assuming that's the amount of floppies required. So again, more sharing going on. Anything at the end? No, it's just a large list. Here was an interesting great. This logo update. Oh, is this? I've seen those before. Yeah, this is a list of just logo ASCII logos for different either groups or demo groups, or it's cool stuff to browse. This brings back a lot of memories. Anyway, to assume the logo is this one is the same. Is there anything there? Steve letter. Ooh. Well, there you go. Yeah, we have an address here. So this will be blurred, but this is actually an interesting format because this is not for a bulletin board. I suspect this was a printed letter, which would make sense because that folder had a print software in it. And this is where that file is as well. I read you're at an Amiga shopper looking for game swaps. There you go, more swaps. So this guy, our friend Gary, did a lot more than BBS swap. My Amiga setup is a 1200 Blizzard 1230, yeah, 10 megs. God, that was quite a beefy configuration at the time. This would have cost an arm and a leg. Zappo CD, so CD archiving as well, which is messing around with Amiga 500 plus ages, which is what we have here. 10 meg CSI with 6 megs of RAM and CDTV partner 2. Oh my god. So this is this machine, the machine we have here. This was indeed Gary's machine. And Gary was a bit of a pirate. There you go, more address and a list of game. For Lightwave need at least, yeah, explanations for stuff. I'm not gonna linger too long on these. Zoe letter. Ooh, oh, is this gonna be a no? That's more pirate stuff. I thought for a second we'd stumble onto a lovely love letter, but no. In this exact same folder here is another folder called text game, and I saw loads of text files in this. I don't think we have time to go through all of them because that's quite a lot already. How to connect the PC to a video crypt decoder. Yeah, we've got pirate stuff. This I thought was this is a schematics, ASCII made schematics for, I'm not sure, the PRBS 2 generators in this picture, scrambling parts. Yeah, I'm not sure what that is, but it's sharing a simple schematic of something you can build yourself. Power 95 is really interesting. How to get free power. First, I thought this was a joke because, well, you'll see why. I don't take any responsibility for any damage, injury, blah blah blah. What do you do if you want free electricity? You wire up the nearest street light to your fuse box. that's a no. You mix a depleted uranium or plutonium if you can afford it, and make a small nuke plant in your spare bedroom. That's a no. But this is the option. Fiddle with the meter. You need to be relatively handy with soldering iron for this method to work. And what this gives you is a step-by-step instruction to actually tinker with your electricity meter so that electricity doesn't get counted, and essentially you don't get charged and you get free electricity. Proper hacker stuff, and exactly the type of stuff that somebody that needs to run a BBS or a file sharing service 24/7 would do. There's one peculiar thing I've noticed is here we're in the root folder, so the base of DH0. This is the one and only partition we have. We're looking in the S folder, and this is where the startup sequence exists. And this is a series of commands that happen at startup to initiate whatever environment variables, different drives or locations, so to speak. Sets the workbench version, and we get that Amiga release to Kickstart. We get the version of Kickstart workbench. This is our display message, and it continues, and then it loads the workbench here. And if it exists, it starts the user startup, which we don't have here. Here we are in the hard drive work, which is another essentially work for this. That other sort of image or old hard drive that exists. We're in the S folder, and the startup sequence here essentially looks first for startup sequence on the CD. Now we know that I think it's this machine that was connected to is it CDTV or CD32? I can't remember. If it doesn't exist, if it can't find it, it will look for execute startup sequence STD. So let's exit out of that. The STD here is, and it's just a way to separate, just branching out and then startup sequences. But so here in this case, it will either boot from the CD or try to find this STD version, and then in there at the end, if it exists in the folder, it'll also start user startup. User startup is here, and that's essentially our proper startup sequence. And this loads a ton of assigns and variables and libraries to essentially load all those art programs that we find in that art program folder. If we load sysinfo here, and if we load the drives, we only have that one drive. There is only one partition there. And what the system will do is it will look for a startup sequence in the S folder on the root of DH0, or whichever we specify to boot first. And indeed, if we reboot the machine, and when we reboot, we press both buttons on the mouse, we get that boot select partition, and there's no option to boot from anything else other than DH0. So essentially, I think we were right earlier. Remember when I said that there was that the hard drive wasn't original? I think what we have here is that work folder that's embedded in that other work folder is the original hard drive that was there. And that probably had all the art programs and all that kind of stuff that was then moved out of that folder. But I suspect this was the original hard drive. It was used for video editing because I think Scala is embedded in there. If it's not, it doesn't really matter. I think that's what happened because it's loading all those ARC programs in the startup sequence anyway. So I think that Amiga, or the hard drive and the Amiga that was tied to it, was first used possibly as art editing, video editing and music editing machine. Then a new hard drive was put in place. The older one was probably archived onto that newer one, and a new install, and it was used as a pirating machine, and probably a way to archive all those floppies that Gary's was getting through the BBS. I think that's the history behind this hard drive. Unfortunately, there is no archives in there. There's no games. There's no real files associated with the ARC programs other than some of the demo files. So I think most of the stuff was either archived onto tapes and then deleted from the machine as the machine was being used as an archiver after in its later life, as far as 98. And cool history. And it took a while to explore the entirety of the hard drive and sort of decipher what was going on there. Anyway, folks, I think this is more or less the mystery of this hard drive and this machine cracked. I always like to know the story behind the machine, and this certainly was eventful. This is super exciting to me. I love stuff like that. We know now that this unit, along with the mouse that came with it, and there was 2 drives, belonged to somebody called Gary, who at some point in his life was a pirate and run an extensive backup scheme of different floppies and software. He rigged this to a VCR to archive all those floppies onto videotapes. I would love to know what happened to those videotapes. But anyway, that was a cool little journey into the content of this hard drive. I'm glad it was saved and it's still running. I think the fact that this is a new hard drive in it, or relatively speaking, probably helped salvage this. Anyway, folks, I hope this was interesting. It was a little detective work here, but it was really, really cool. I enjoyed every minute of it. Folks, thank you for watching. Don't forget, you can support the channel on Patreon if you want. There is a Discord server, and you can find me on most social media. Folks, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.